Start doing these daily doses of algebra every day after the warm-up. This week we're going to be working on combining like terms. So go ahead and pause your tape and simplify the two expressions from your screen. Okay, when you combine like terms, the most important thing that you need to do before you can do any combining is you need to code them. And when we talk about coding, we mean putting the same symbol around each variable. For example, in the first one, negative 4a plus 8a and minus 5a all get coded together. It's really important because the signs tell you what to do. So negative 4 plus 8 is positive 4 minus 5 is negative 1, so it's negative 1a. When you do your b's, you have 6b, positive 6 minus 9, 6 minus 9 leaves you with negative 3 or minus 3b. So you have negative a minus 3b. You also could have written it negative 3b minus a. In the second one over here, you have almost all the same variables. That should make this one even easier. So the negative 3x is the only x, so it's going to stay. So negative 3x is going to stay exactly where it's at. There's nothing to combine it with. Then you have negative 5n minus 6n is negative 11. Negative 11 minus 4 is negative 15. Negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13, so negative 13n. When you combine like terms, most important thing is to code. Okay, today, this is really the last new material of the year. It's finding the volume of figures. Go ahead and in a separate window, type in the bit.ly/virtualvolume2019 and watch the virtual nerd video. When you're finished, come back to this screen. Okay, when we find the volume of three-dimensional figures, a lot of it has to do with finding the area. So somewhere in your notes, go ahead and copy down the triangle area formula, which is area equals 1/2 base times height. Rectangle and squares are length times width, and the circle is area equals pi r squared. Go ahead and take about 30 seconds and copy them down. So volume is the amount of space occupied by a 3D figure, or the number of cubic units needed to fill a 3D figure. Like think about when you go to FedEx and you fill a box, if it's 11 by 12 by 13. When you do that math, 11 times 12 times 13, and you get 1,716, that's how many cubic inches can fit in there. And volume is always measured in cubic inches. Inches cubed, centimeters cubed, meters cubed, cubic units, or units to the third power, because there's 3 dimensions. And this is the basis of today. Here's the formula. To find the volume of all prisms, volume equals area of the base times the height. Volume equals area of the base times the height. Make sure this is in your notebook. Here's the short version of the formula. It's V equals capital B times H. Okay, so what is the base? The base are parallel faces of a figure, and it's always going to have two identical faces. So in this prism right here, the base of this figure is the triangle. There are two triangles that are exactly the same size, opposite each other. In this prism, these squares represent the base. There are 2 of them. They are opposite each other. And in this cube, all of these squares are the base because they're all the same size. So here we go. To find the volume, we have a rectangular prism right here. And if we needed to find the volume, we know that volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. So when I look at this, I see that on the top and the bottom, I have 2 figures that are exactly the same. They're both squares. Those squares represent the base. So to find the volume of this figure, I find the area of the base, and the base happens to be a rectangle, so it's 2 times 5. The bottom of this figure right here is showing you what the base is, times the height of the figure, which is how long it is from top to bottom, and in this case that's 8. So to find the volume of this figure, it's 2 times 5 times 8. I'm sorry, it's not typing real well. So volume equals, on your calculator, you would do 2 times 5 times 8. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 8 is 80. So this would be 80 cubic meters, or 80 meters to the third power is the volume. So if we ask an extension question here, and it said the prism above represents an aquarium at PetSmart. If the store filled the aquarium 75% of the way with water, how many cubic meters of water is in the fish tank? Well, here's what we know. We know that if it's filled up all the way, it can hold 80 cubic meters, because we found out what the volume was, that the volume is 80 cubic meters. So if it is filled up 75% of the way, we know it has to be less than 80. And to determine exactly how much is filled, we take that volume and multiply it by 75%, and 80 times 75% gives us 60 cubic meters. Okay, on your own, go ahead and pause the tape now and find the volume of this figure. It's 7 1/5 by 1 1/2 by 4. First, you need to identify what the base is, the two congruent figures. Once you have that first part done, here's the follow-up. It says the drawing at left represents a small ant farm. If the ant farm was filled halfway with dirt, how many cubic inches would be in the ant farm? Pause the tape now. Okay, as we solve this, the first thing I notice is the base are these rectangles on the side. And the height, if we were to stand this up, the height is actually 7 1/5. That's the longest part of this rectangle. If we were to stand it up, that would represent the height. So to find the volume of a prison, its volume equals area of the base times the height. And in this case, the base of this figure is this rectangle on the side. So to find the volume of this, you would do 4 times 1 1/2, that would be the area of the base, times the height, and it would give you 45. So the volume of this figure would be 45 cubic inches, or inches to the third power. Now the follow-up question says, if the ant farm was filled halfway with dirt, how many cubic inches of dirt would be in the farm? Well, we know it can hold 45 altogether, and 45 times 1/2, you would just punch this in your calculator, and it would tell you that it would hold 22.5 cubic inches. Okay, when you're finding the volume of triangular prisms, nothing changes. The only thing that you need to recognize here is that in this case, the base is a triangle. So while the formula we're going to use is still volume equals area of the base times the height, in this case, the formula is going to be we're going to have to apply a little bit different of the formula, because to find the area of that base, well, it's a triangle. So volume is going to be 1/2, or 0.5 times the base of the base, which is 21, times 42, which is the height. So it will be 1/2 times 21 times 42. That will give us the area of this triangle, and then we have to multiply that by the height of the entire figure, what it is from top to bottom, which in this case happens to be 50. So we would multiply 0.5 times 21 times 42 times 50, and we would get a large number, 22,050. That would be the volume of this figure. Okay, last piece for today is, once you finish working through this exit ticket problem, which is down on the bottom, this is an old EOG question right here. Once you finish with this, go ahead and navigate to bit.ly/volume1 and complete today's work.